Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to take a good old look at some Pokémon TCG cards that are spiking in price. There are some surprising cards right now that are jumping up really quite considerably, and this is the kind of thing that we need to be having a chat about. Sound like a plan? Excellent. So let's start off with Gengar, specifically the Gengar Vmax alternate art from Fusion Strike. This is a card which has been kind of chilling along for a little bit and has all of a sudden started to absolutely balloon. If we look at the last year, it started off as kind of like a $200 card. Now, it did spike up to about a $400 card and come back down again. It's now sitting at about a $315 card. So you can look at this graph and you can go, well, hang on a second. You're telling us it's spiking. Over the past year, that is not much of a spike. You're right. But look at it over the past month. Over the past month, it really has been going up quite a bit. But also, this is a card that, a year ago was a $200 card. And now we're looking at a card which is, well over $300. Make no mistake about it, this Gengar is becoming one of the big cards from the Sword and Shield era. Yes, we know that Moonbreon is the big card, so it's not overtaking that anytime soon, but Gengar is coming, and it kind of makes sense, honestly. And look, playability-wise, it really doesn't matter, because nobody's spending this much on a card for playability reasons. The thing here is, firstly, that it's Gengar, and secondly, that it's Fusion Strike. Because you see, the thing with Fusion Strike is, it was at the time the biggest set ever made. It's a huge set, and it doesn't have many hits. Gengar is the biggest, as a couple others, we'll look at them in a second. But basically what we've got here is a combination of a very big set with underwhelming hits. And you mash both of them together and you end up with a set where people aren't buying box after box after box because it's a real feast or famine set. Either you hit the big hit, yay, or you don't. And if you don't hit the big hit, you're generally ending up quite disappointed. So with that borne in mind, what's going on with the other big hits from Fusion Strike? Well, the number 2 card in the set is Espeon, and that was not spiking up like Gengar. It's actually, well, if we look over the past 6 months, there was a bit of a spike up to $350 back at the end of May, beginning of June, and it's since kind of come down to $200. It's actually come down quite nicely. Don't get me wrong, $200 for a Sword and Shield era card, there aren't that many that fit that profile. However, it is still a $200 card. Yeah, it's an expensive card. It is also coming down though, so do what you like with those 2 bits of information. Not spiking up like Gengar, not pretending it is, but certainly not a cheap card. The other one is the Mew, and the Mew has been disappointing. The Mew has always been way cheaper than it should be, especially with lovely Akira Tagawa artwork. I need to pick this one up. But again, if we look at like the 6-month profile here, it got as high as like $100 and is now sitting there at 75. Still a decently expensive card, don't get me wrong, but not spiking up. It really is Gengar from this set that is jumping. And again, it's weird, given that, like I said, big hits, big set, low pull rate, all of that. I expect over time, all of them are going to start jumping up. Right now, it really is just the Gengar. So what about something else? A couple of others we can have a little bit of a look at. How about Tyranitar? The Tyranitar from Paldea Evolved. I've told you guys that pretty much every set, we pick a random illustration rare, the community as a whole, and we just pump the price up. Well, it's Tyranitar from Paldea Evolved. It fell down as low as like a $25 card. It's jumped up to a $40 card. Don't look at the most recent sale, $4. That's a Japanese version. And that's also more proof of what I'm saying. The rule is very simple. If the card is very expensive in English and Japanese, and the Gengar would absolutely fit here, although it was released in a weird way in Japan. But where it is expensive everywhere, what that basically means is it is a card which is expensive and should be expensive and is going to stay there. Something like this, it's not that expensive in Japan, it's only expensive here. Essentially, the market has been artificially inflated. The thing is, we can sit here and go, oh yes, well, the market has been artificially inflated. It has. Doesn't bring the cost of the card down. Doesn't make it into a cheap card. It just means we can sit here and go, it shouldn't be that expensive, but it is. Although, weirdly enough, Tyranitar, of course, not the most stark example of this, even in Paldea Evolved, because, of course, Paldea Evolved gave us the Magikarp, which right now is around about a $115 card. Not spiking right now, not really the subject of this video, but important to note that it's there. And it means Paldea Evolved is a weird set, because Magikarp is the number 1 card in the set value-wise. The Special Illustration Rare Iono is the number 2, and then Tyranitar's the number 3. It's a set where the illustration rares are taking over. The number 4 card in that set is actually the Raichu illustration rare. So we got 3 regular illustration rares above every special illustration rare that isn't Iono. That's weird. Never mind, eh? Paldea Evolved is a very weird set. Speaking of illustration rares that are going far higher than they should, how about the Groudon from Paradox Rift? It's another one which is jumping up far higher than it really has any right to be. It is the number 1 card in Paradox Rift right now. It is ahead of the Special Illustration Rare Roaring Moon EX, which is both a Special Illustration Rare, has phenomenal artwork, and is actually really playable. Remember, it was in the final of the World Championships in Honolulu back in August. But apparently it's below Groudon. That's weird to me. It's sitting there as like a $50 card right now. Now, this one's a bit weird. But if we have a look, for instance, at the year-long graph, I think that's the best way to see it. It did spike up at 60 and it's currently around 50. But you'll notice it spent a long time flicking around as like a $25 card. And then just randomly doubled. Well, more than doubled, and then settled at double. And I just don't think that's going anywhere. Every set, we seem to get like one random illustration rare that isn't expensive in Japan, shouldn't be that expensive, and then as a team, as a community, as a group, we all just go, yep, this one. And we just rocket it right up. Don't know why, doesn't make any sense. We just have. And obviously, the poster child for this is Greninja EX. I still don't understand Greninja EX. Greninja EX still makes no sense to me. I mean, have a look at the 6-month graph since release. Started off at $120. That's your classic kind of pre-release hype, new special illustration rare. They're all about that much as a pre-sale price. And then, yeah, it just jumps. And again, it's playable, but it's not that playable. The art's good, but it's not that good. Greninja's a popular Pokemon, but it's not that popular. It should not be a $260 card. But for some reason it is. Sorry about that. I will just finish this little part of the video telling you, we have at least, if we have a look at Shrouded Fable, we can see that the Dustnoir is doing a similar kind of thing, except Dustnoir's like a hyper-playable card, so the fact that it went down to $15 and has jumped back up to like $30, I'm absolutely cool with this, because it's the best version of a card that is seeing a redonkulous amount of play right now. One of its biggest partners is Terrapagos, and you will notice that Terrapagos is very, very hyped right now, seeing a huge amount of play. Everybody is absolutely loving it, and it's not just Terrapagos with which this sees play. It sees play in other decks as well. So, yes, this one is also jumping up, but I don't think it's jumping up irresponsibly. I think this makes absolute perfect sense, and this is one of the ones where I look at it and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to let you have this one because I get it, I understand, and this is the kind of card where people are going and buying, 2, 3, 4 of these for their deck. I'm going to allow it. But there's a big one that's been jumping up lately, and it is our boy Charizard from Scarlet and Violet 151. This is the card that really inspired this episode of this particular series, because look what's happened. I'm going to put it at a 1 month view because I think that is the best way to show it. 120, 120, 120, 120, 120, 225. Yeah. That is absurd, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely absurd. We're going to look at this in more detail in the coming days, but I think we might finally have hit that point where Scarlet and Violet 151 is just starting to balloon. Honestly, I think it's starting to balloon. And this is the big card in the set. It was rocking around at like 120 to 125 bucks for so long, and then all of a sudden it just went dumb. Absolutely dumb. And if we have a little bit of a look, here's a snapshot at some recent sales. You'll notice, as well as the kind of 220-ish sales, we've also got a couple that sold for 245, one that sold for 250, and two that sold for 300. Okay, one was 295, but I'm rounding up. So the reason I show you these is because I'm telling you, yeah, it has jumped up, but it's not done yet. It's not like it's sitting at 220, but all the recent sales have been around 220. Nah, mate. This is one where it's only going to be going up, and we can expect this to keep rising for a little while yet. Make no mistake about it, this Charizard has jumped up, but it has not finished jumping up. This one's going to get more. All right, there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards you picked up. Did you pull them from packs? Did you buy them when they were cheap? Or are you regretting because you had the chance and missed it? Let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely Mary Sanders Lazenby, who's a very lovely person, who's helped us out with stuff in the past, and is just generally awesome. So shout out to them for being awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.